chill. Yeah, it was a good time. It was a nice hurrah.
Yeah.
For the the cheer career.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, so baby girl's moving on. She's closing that chapter of her life. She still got to do a little bit of like sidelines or whatever at the school, but as far as competition, she wrapped it up this weekend. So
a lot of tears there.
It was a lot of tears, man. Yeah,
you got emotional too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, man.
But it's been what, like a 10-year ride?
Yeah, I would say 10 years.
Dang.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So it was fun. We had a good time. Got to enjoy her and got to push her in different areas. But she enjoyed it, and she was like, "I'm ready. On to the next." So these next few months actually going to be very emotional because she's finishing high school and then going off to college. So.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
That's dope.
Don't hold back your tears, man. If you want to cry.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember when you hung up your boots playing soccer?
I was so happy. God, I'm sick and tired of this. I was forced to play soccer. God, my dad's like, I'm not making 2 trips. You're only going to play soccer because your brother plays soccer. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do karate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no,
oh yeah, I remember that.
I can't do back and forth.
Practice on me, fool.
Yeah. Karate chop your neck, dog.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it was bittersweet, I guess. Yeah.
I knew at like the same, like as soon as I graduated high school, like that was gonna be the end of soccer. Club soccer ended. I knew I wasn't gonna go play college, even though like many coaches encouraged me and friends like, oh, go play college, but I had to work. Yeah. I didn't have the money. I didn't have that luxury of just going to school and not have to worry about anything else. You know? So
you have a bad quad too, though. Your quad.
Well, no, but I wasn't great.
His quad has always been failing.
But because I was known for being pretty intense and aggressive, and I was in good shape. I had really good endurance. I'll be sprinting all over the field for all 90 minutes the entire game. So I was in really good condition. And then every time I play, like I act like I'm still 17, 16 years old. And next thing you know, I have a pulled hammy.
I just think it's funny. The last time we went to go play soccer, dude, no one was even there yet. We were just warming up, and then you see head on the floor, like, I'm done. I can't play. I'm like, dude, we just got here.
I know, that was...
You didn't even have your shoes on yet.
He goes harder than the warm-ups, bro.
The warm-ups.
Gee, I think he was just putting his shoes on. He got hurt.
No, it was actually it's because the day before I had lifted, I had done legs. So, and then that morning, I remember everybody just was hitting everybody up, and we're like, hey, let's go play soccer. I'm like, oh shoot, I know my legs are gonna be a little weak out there. So I told myself, like, I'm gonna take it easy. I'm gonna make sure now, like, I make sure I'm warmed up at least 15 minutes, stretches, running, everything, right? And I was good, but then Eric, or it was actually you, I think. You passed me a ball, and I was only kicking it with my right foot, and then you passed it to my left, and then I did like a weird move with my left foot, and then I passed it, and next thing you know, I pulled like the inside of my...
Why does it feel like you're blaming me? I passed it to your left. I had my body had to move a certain way.
Yeah, that was a bad pass.
I dropped my niece off for a date.
Wow.
This past week.
Okay.
Oh, she watches this. She's going to hate me. At Oak Grove, because they had a soccer game, and it just like the nostalgia came back. I was like, damn, I remember these like Friday night games, man. Jack in the Box before and the Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then want to go play and run for 90 minutes. God.
Yeah. And now, like all your friends in the stands and everything.
Yeah, my dad.
Good nostalgia.
I was always where my dad would go.
Mm-hmm.
God.
But how'd you feel about... Did you meet the kid?
No, I didn't meet him. No, she didn't want me to meet him. And I was okay with it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's not like they're dating. It's just like, oh, we're just going to hang out with friends. There's a group of friends. I was like, I'm not going to be that person.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you want to go to like dinner or like go to the mall, just you two, then yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's a group thing, I'm not.
Some formal introductions.
Yeah, if it's a group thing, like, you know what, you guys are all just, kicking it, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing. Yeah, I'm going to meet him. I'm going to sit right in the camera saying that.
We want to meet you.
Tag him in the comments.
Yeah.
He's going to be a guest.
You're going to need 4 co-signatures, bro.
No, but yeah, crazy is that I prefer this type of weather though, which is the crazy thing for me.
Mm.
I think only because it's I base it off my clothing
Mm.
and stuff like that, like fits.
You
and
like
stuff
hoodie
during the
season?
cold, exactly, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I have to be doing something. If I'm just at home, just sitting there,
Mhm.
and it's raining outside, like I just want to lay down and then
Mhm.
contemplate my life, my life
Yeah.
decisions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Welcome to me and Mars' birthday every year, bro.
oh man, it
Seriously.
sucks.
Constantly altering plans
Yeah.
because, like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, never mind.
Yeah.
The weather.
Or people can't make it because it's raining outside.
And even if it's not raining, it's winter, so it's freezing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is true. Jeez, sucks for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, November too gets kind of cold and wet, right?
Yeah, but mine's on Thanksgiving, so it's like
Like, yours gonna happen with
everybody's.
regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sucks for you guys. But yeah, man. It's kind of crazy when you start thinking about the whole depression thing too, right? Because I feel like it always brings me back to like growing up, that you didn't know you were depressed,
Mhm.
but you were depressed now that you learned what it was,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also it takes me back to like I remember one day telling my parents like, oh, like I feel like sad or like whatever, and they would just be like, oh, well, just get over it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, go outside, go do something, go play,
Yeah.
stuff like that, and I think it's crazy how in our culture too, that just having the depression mood or feeling, like, I don't know, like I want to say like people don't take it seriously,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys feel the same like that. I mean, like in my household, it was just like, oh, you're sad, like, boo-hoo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think it's that people it is that people don't take it seriously, but I also think that people use that word freely, and
Yeah.
they don't understand the difference between
Mm-hmm.
depression and like stressed, or
Yeah.
you're just having a bad day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so automatically, since depressing is, obviously a very strong thing, that people tend to just say, I'm depressed,
Mm-hmm.
not understanding that they're probably using the wrong word.
Yeah. I think you're
Yeah,
right. I
that's
think
true.
nowadays it's used way loosely.
Yeah. There's a lot of self-diagnosis.
Yeah, a lot of WebMDs out there.
Yeah.
When it comes
For
to that type
sure.
of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I guess.
But like going back to where you're saying these feelings that you had, it was something that you carried through your childhood, or they just kind of began having these feelings like during high school, or
Yeah. I want to say middle school, high school.
Mhm.
It's when like the waves will like come in and out.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Would you
And-
say they were related to like a specific trauma or just
No, I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't consider this trauma. I
Yeah.
think it's more like, my livelihood. I
Sure.
guess as a child, like, I guess not having things
Mm-hmm.
like other kids did.
Yeah.
And then like wanting certain things
Yeah.
and you couldn't get those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that started like, I feel like I felt like a sense of FOMO in that aspect,
Yeah.
right? As a kid too, and
Yeah.
I think that also brings in those like sad feelings, like, man, why can't I have that, or why can't I do that?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why do I only get one pair of shoes a year?
Yeah.
Not to be fake Nikes from the pool,
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it just comes from that. But I'm a child. I think when you're a kid, you process things differently than now, right?
No question.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago where I was in depression as an adult, right? But I feel like I was able to get out of that myself, more efficiently, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Knowing how to get over it, like, okay, dude, like, yeah, man, it may not be going too good right now, but it could be worse, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
Showing
know?
showing some gratitude.
Exactly, for what I do have and what I am able to do. Like, God, I have 2 arms and 2 legs.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like little things like that will like come up like, oh man, like I wish I had this right now, but it's like, why though? Just means that, I just don't have it then,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Just deal with what I do have. So I think that there's a big distinguish between feeling that as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what it is, how to process it, and like not even be able to talk to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I can't bring it up to like my friends, like, hey, what's up, guys? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you get clowned at
Yeah.
all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so now as an adult, I didn't know you guys when I went through the depression, but like you guys would have been the first people I would have called. I mean, I knew Hedda, but I didn't reach out to Hedda because I was too embarrassed to do anything.
You still did, and I was going through some stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I ask because growing up, I didn't really deal much with any trauma, and it wasn't until like I had my first breakup that I felt that real like that sadness in my heart. Like it just felt like somebody had just punched a hole through my heart. Like I don't know if you guys had experienced that. I'm sure everybody, right? Their first breakup.
Yeah.
But then that, and right after like my mom passing away, like literally like the same week, broke up, and then my mom passed away. So that felt just way heavy over me. But before that, and that was when I was about 17 years old, I think 16 years old. But before that, I didn't really know what depression was. And it wasn't until, like you said, right, started experiencing life a little bit more, and then you start to kind of question why you make certain decisions or why you feel certain ways sometimes. And then you try to find the root cause of those feelings, perhaps, and sometimes you attribute it to some traumatic effects, right? And in this case for me it was more so like my mom passing away, not so much the breakup. After obviously, like, I'm happily married and don't even think about it anymore, but it was a first time experience of having to feel a sense of sadness in your heart that you hadn't experienced before. Especially for me, like I had mentioned before, I had a pretty good childhood, just focused on sports and education, very loving parents as well, and my family just very family oriented. So I didn't really feel those experiences. That's why I was asking you, but you saying that you felt that in your childhood as well, right?
Yeah, I can remember. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
But what about you guys? Do you guys have any experiences with that, like in your teen years, or?
Yeah, I definitely. Most of my depression is as a young teenager and young adult and older adult was, mostly trauma based for life experiences and stuff like that, which we won't get into today. But a lot of those traumas cause that. And for me, and I think it's also important to make this distinction in that not all depression is just someone being there, isolating themselves and being all sad and depressed, like head down. Sometimes depression is in the form of me or a person being very angry. Sometimes depression is in the form of someone who can't control their eating habits, because they just eat. They're so depressed. They just gobble everything up, and that's how they deal with their depression. Sometimes depression, you know what I mean? It's not just what we think, like someone's just sitting on the couch and isolating themselves and they're just sad. It's depression is not only, or that is only one form of depression. And for me, unfortunately, I channeled it through anger. That was how I channeled my depression. And, I tried to play sports, do wrestling, get into all this, as many things as I could, but they only seemed to make things worse because of my competitive nature that just led me down roads that I wish I didn't go down back then, but also just going undiagnosed and thinking like, well, I'm just, it's basically covering it by saying, oh, it's just because I'm so competitive. But no, that kind of anger and how angry I would literally feel it was not normal. It was not normal to be that. It was way beyond just being competitive in sports. It was literally wanting to hurt that person, and we're just playing sports. No one's getting paid, It's like no one's getting paid.
It's kickball, Mar.
It's like, so crazy how that thought never processed in our heads when we were that young.
It never did.
Thought we were gonna be pros, right?
You're exactly right. They're like, Mark, bro, it's badminton. Like, no one is gangster playing badminton, bro.
We're playing Uno, Mar.
Right? Just slams his
They're
car.
like, Mark,
But we have seen him play cards. This guy does get angry. Though.
like,
Yeah,
Mark,
yeah,
it's grandma. Like, stop. You know? So
Yeah, he
it was
wasn't
tough,
invited to the Loteria nights.
right?
No.
Literally, bro.
El gallo.
They would say El Mar.
And that's what it looked like for me, you know, that it was just very angry, and it took a long time because I didn't seek the help. You know, I just either people in my family or I didn't recognize it. I just thought it was something that I could fix on my own. And, you know, that spilled it all the way to adulthood.
Yeah.
You know, it took so long to get that under control and to now say that, like, no, you are not this. You
Yeah.
are not this. And so, but, you know, I was reading some statistics about men who get depression and how, like, just from the ages, now these are specifically for the ages that I saw, 18 to 25, they had a percentage of like 18.6% of men versus like 26 to 49, it went down to like 9%. And then 50 plus, it went down to like 4% of men. And for one, and the 50, I was like, I kind of made myself laugh. And I was like, 50-year-olds and older, we just stopped caring. And I think that's why that number goes down, because I think we stopped worrying about
Don't
things
say
used to.
we, dude. This guy said we at 50 and older. You ain't 50.
I hate you.
I saved you. Everyone would have thought you're 50. Because you're like, we? No, he's not 50. He's 49.
He got the back of a 50-year-old.
Right. The soul is 50.
There it is. That's right.
Or actually, the joints are.
I'm like, not the soul, bro. You're like a 20-year-old.
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that.
That's hilarious, man.
So, I mean, but I just felt like, you know, it made sense to me that the bigger percentage was between 18 and 25, because I feel like we're just getting into adulthood and figuring out who we are.
Of course.
As men, you know, and there's just so many pressures, like to become educated, like find a wife, you know, and have a family. Like, not that you have to have it at 18, but just you're already, as a man, you're already thinking of all that stuff, like, or some of us are.
Yeah.
You know, and you have all these pressures of, you know, making money. If depending on your family dynamic, if your family is hurting, then you're more inclined to just go into work and try to go to school part-time. That's stretching yourself thin. And if you're involved in a church, then you're probably even stretched even thinner, because you're,
for sure.
you know, and it can become depressing because you're stretched in so many ways here and there, trying to, help everyone and do a lot of things, but it becomes difficult to balance everything and make sure you're doing right by everyone. But then a lot of times you're out of gas and you're just running on empty, and you're just trying to go on autopilot. You know, next thing you know it, either one or both or all three areas you fail and you burn out because of that, and then there's an explosion or there's something that breaks you, you know.
Exactly.
For sure.
It's tough. I know I experienced that, and you know, for me it was number one, my faith in God that helped me get through it, and then my wife, who's responsible for helping me grow up and become better and dealing with the worst parts of me through those years. And then it was me. I had to decide that I wanted to finally be over this and you know, find healing for myself but it's also, I noticed that like for me, I knew I never wanted to be medicated. So I had to find natural ways, and really, like, doing sports was one of those things. And I like getting with guys, and I finally got to an area where I can lose and be okay. You know, I got to an area where I can play sports and be like, oh, it's fine. Like, we just lost, we just got destroyed, but it's okay. You know, so just going along with that. But I'm thankful that I have progressed enough in myself and through life, and now I can share these experiences and this stuff with other men who are suffering, and you know, provide some insight in these things, and even to my kids who, you know, even though I try to be the best dad I can, I'm gonna miss stuff, you know, but so I tell them, like, just talk to me and we can work it out, you know, we can we'll do what we can
Yeah.
if you ever need help, because you don't know, like, you as a parent, sometimes your kids won't tell you every single detail, right?
Of course.
And it's important for us to just touch bases with them. And especially, I have 2 boys, and I know they're, 17 and 18 years old. They're getting ready to start their lives as young men, young adults. So I try to tell them, like, it's a lot of pressure, but we got you. Like, know that you're supported, know that you're loved, and know that failure in areas is okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel like you have to have yourself put together at this age,
And
like, allow
that's
yourself
so
to
good.
fail
Yeah.
and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Of course, every one of us, when we fail, it's not a good feeling like, oh yeah, I failed,
Yeah, of
No,
course
we
not.
don't take it like that, right? You're like, oh man, I wish I didn't fail, but don't also go down that rabbit hole of, oh, I'm just a failure.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
no, turn it around. Okay, I'm gonna do the next thing better then.
Exactly.
And I think just around that age, I think you, going back to what you said about expectations for people between, like, say 18
Yeah.
to 25, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where now, if you want to input social media in that conversation, it completely ruins a young
so
man's
good, bro.
life
Yeah.
and mine,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, oh, by 20, I need to be making $10,000 a month.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I need to be doing this by
Mhm.
this, because there's someone on the internet saying, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you ain't doing this, then you're not doing anything.
Right.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But it's like everybody has their own process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, sometimes getting your money early is not a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's in the scriptures.
Yeah.
But
you weren't ready for it to receive
exactly.
a substantial amount of money. And going back to what Mar said, bring up the statistics. I read from the American Psychiatric Association that 1 in 5 Hispanics have gone to the doctors seeking mental health treatment, and this was data that was pulled from 2023.
Oh, wow.
So 1 in 5 Hispanic, that's about like 22%, I believe, that I had read. And that's up a lot more than I feel when we were growing up. But now that it's much higher, like what do you think is your guys' view on how we used to view it, or like our families used to view it, to how it is now? Because like you're talking about being that role model for your dad, right? Like it's so important to have that strong father figure in the household, and that's what you are for your kids, and that's so dope. But is that something that you perhaps didn't lacked on, like growing up, or what's your guys' view on that?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to get to is just the differences, like the how we view it now, right? Like talking about the topic of depression,
As it being more open
and
now.
then about being more open
Yeah.
now, and how the view was in our culture, in the
Yeah.
Latino culture, growing up.
I think Latino culture just in itself has that machismo persona, right, for a man.
Yeah.
And where you have to act a certain way, be a certain way. And there's nothing wrong with that. You should be a man.
Mm-hmm.
You should be, I think, I don't see anything wrong with machismo,
Mm-hmm.
right? But where I do have a problem with it is where you let it overtake you. And then now you can't express yourself the way you want to express yourself. And then you're going to take it out on, like, your wife or your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're feeling a certain way underneath,
Mhm.
right? And you have no avenue to be able to talk to somebody or let that out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there's pros and cons to it, especially in our culture, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I can see, like, my uncles and stuff, and I mean, like, oh, like, they got to be tough cowboys. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, but,
Yeah, I definitely think like a lot of Latino men would not, like, especially our fathers. I don't think, at least in my experience, that's something they would engage in, like talking about, oh, you're depressed, come here, mijo, let's talk this out. It would literally be, the advice would be to just go exercise or go play some sports, or
go outside.
go away. But not that they're not bad fathers for that, but that's the only way they knew.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I love my dad. He was a fantastic dad, but I don't think he could have helped me even if I went to him with that area. personally, you know. I think our connection would have been different. The way his thought processes and how he grew up were just different, and I don't think they would have been conducive to sending me down the right path to find healing in the areas I needed it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that, like I said, that doesn't make our dads necessarily bad. It just, I don't think they were exposed, and they didn't have life experiences like we did growing up, and certain information that we have that we now have. You know?
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I would say lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Because I don't, like I said, growing up, I don't think I've heard the term depression as much as I hear it now.
Yeah.
Now every other article on Twitter that I read has to do with depression. And before, it was just if you were feeling sad, a little bit down, like, let's just get to work, mijo. You know, like, get up and come help me. I would go work with my dad, and it was just work, right?
Yeah.
They had to provide. They had to kind of, for a while, put their feelings aside and just provide in how they best knew how to. Right, was to put bread on the table.
Yeah.
But one of the like moments that I feel sometimes, and it wasn't much like the depression, but I can see how like kids can kind of see it now. But during soccer games, like, sometimes I would beat myself up if I committed a foul, or I did something that ruined our chances of winning, or the other team won because of my mistakes. And that's something, like, man, I would like lock myself. I would lock myself in the room, and wouldn't want to talk to anyone and everything. And I just remember sometimes those, like, that times that did happen, like my dad would come and talk to me. But it would be like, hey, don't feel this way, or stop acting like this, or I'm going to get you out of sports.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, shoot. Well, no, I love soccer, right? But
You know,
I
funny.
don't want to get kicked out. But those are just some of the experience I remember.
You saying that
having.
just takes me back. Like, you used to be such a moody person after like losses or something. Like, I remember that clearly now. Like, you didn't talk to nobody. You would just grab your bag and leave.
Yeah.
And like be all mad. I'm like, dude, it's a scrimmage.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
It's not even.
It was just the
No, I get I get it. You know, it's
the way
the way you work.
I process things, right? Like I've mentioned before, I've always tried to shoot for excellence, and if it's something that I could have done better, and then if I'm the reason why perhaps we didn't win, then sometimes it would take me a while to process it. Even now, there's times, maybe sometimes a comment somebody makes, or something happens at work, or something with my wife, it takes me a while to process it. And now, like, I know better, and I tell my wife, you know what, I'm gonna go out for a jog, I'm gonna go out for a walk, and then we can talk about it when I get back.
Yeah.
So I go out on my prayer walks, and then I come back so composed, and I'm able to express my emotions now. But yeah, I just remember growing up, I would just be feeling all sad and lonely because we lost the soccer game.
But I think I want to make something clear right now too. Is I don't know about you guys if I speak for all of us, but I'm a big advocate of, if you are depressed or sad out there, get to work.
Yeah.
Do something, right? Because sitting there thinking about it
doesn't make
hoping
it
for someone
better.
to talk to you about it is not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying you have to go get a physical 9 to 5. I mean, pick up a sport, pick up a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Go work out. Working out, to me, to be honest with you guys, has been the number one thing that has helped me with like mental stuff.
Yeah.
Like the feeling
sure.
I get when I'm done working out, I'm like, I feel like I can fight a gorilla right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you feel good about yourself, and you get that dopamine in you, you know, to just get yourself, pick yourself up. You know what I mean? And I know we got into like a depressed conversation, but I also want to like put that out there that you don't have to stay that way. You know, do something. You know what I mean? And find yourself something you're passionate about. It can be anything, right? But something that just gets you going, gets you motivated, gets that ambition to kick in you, right? Don't expect someone to come up to you and just be like, hey, are you okay? Right? It's like, no, man. Sometimes people are not gonna go up to you and bring or talk to you.
Yeah.
And what? You're just gonna sit there? the whole time.
Now, a question on when you guys were experiencing depression. Did you guys want somebody to check on you, or you wanted to be alone?
I was an alone person. I was like, just give me some time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get over it, which eventually I did. Right. I think that was just my process of taking it in. Right. And that's what I said. Like that's what I would go into my gratitude stage. It's like, all right, dude, like chill out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, why you be so sad right now?
Initially, I would be the type, right? Like I mentioned, try to process things. So I want to do that alone. But eventually, yes, have somebody to talk to, right? Perhaps the way my perspective, right, is so clouded by what I only see, and my feelings are just overwhelming me, that perhaps I can't see things at a certain angle. So I would have appreciated having someone come and show me a different perspective. Like, hey, like you did good in these areas, right? Like 99% of the stuff you did was so great, and that 1% is the thing that you're killing yourself for, right? And then that's why it's important to surround yourself in a good environment with the right people that can lift you up, build you up, and give you a different perspective on things. But going back to what you were saying about like pick yourself up, right? None of us I feel like have been diagnosed with depression, but just from, and I wasn't diagnosed with depression either, but just with some of the feelings that I would had, or people that I have met and talked to, have had conversations that they have gone through depression. It's really tough having to hear somebody tell you like, hey, get up, stop feeling that way, and go out and do something, because guess what? You don't have the energy to do it, right? You not only do you have to go through these tough emotional feelings, but also the physical symptoms that come with it.
You don't feel like someone needs to tell that person that?
No. It's important. It's definitely important. But I think there should also be a space for some grace too, because
of course,
from one day to another, like you can't just change your mind on things. Like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that is the case, right? And it's the same way when we met Christ as well. Like it wasn't from one day to another, like, oh, I'm just gonna do this and everything. No, it was through prayer, through brothers and sisters, right? Gradually, my heart started transforming, and now I was able to be a better reflection of who God wanted me to be, right? So it's a journey for sure. But I just say that because, like I said, like I always felt like I've had this like inner drive to do a lot of things. So if somebody were to tell me like, dude, you're just not doing enough, or like get up and do this, I'm like, man, like I have all these things that I'm planning to do, but I can't seem to get to them because of these physical symptoms that I had. And for me, it was I had a lot of headaches, really bad headaches, and a lot of it I had attributed to insomnia and anxiety. That was the big part of me, was more of the anxiety, not so much on the depression, but being able to talk about it for sure.
Oh yeah,
helped,
absolutely.
Right? So going back to what Jay said, yes, processing everything alone for a minute, and then having people that you can trust with and you confide in, like I said, to give you a different perspective on things.
Yeah.
So I do have this question. So obviously everybody's different. Mm-hmm. Symptoms are going to be different. What are key things that you think that would be a good time to tell somebody, all right, you've been depressed long enough, snap out of it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's time to move on, because it's okay to get there, right? It's okay to be in a moment, go through it. But when is a good time to say, you know what, enough is enough. It's time to move on. Yeah. You know, when would you say? It could be symptoms. It could be signs. Yeah. I don't know.
What's that saying? You know, like, do it to me, shame on you, or something like that. And then shame on me, whatever it is.
Do it once, shame on you.
Do it twice, shame 3 times, 4 times, shame on me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, sometimes you just, it's too much, right? Mm-hmm. I'm for the sympathy, right? the first, couple times. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, like I feel you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, hey, buddy, it's been 6 months now.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, and what have you
Yeah.
done to try to get out of that?
Yeah.
You're still in the same spot.
So what are some signs you
No, you're good.
you would say that somebody, like, you look at these signs, or like, okay, this person is perhaps depressed and needs some help? What are some signs that you see in people?
I
that
think
you
it would be like a cry for attention.
Hmm. In what way?
Like a cry wolf type of way.
Like
Right.
everything, you're depressed about everything.
Everything about you is
Okay.
the
Living in a
worst thing.
victim world.
Exactly.
Victim
Everyone's
mentality.
against me.
I can't do nothing right.
Exactly. But it's like, dude, you woke up, man.
Yeah.
You're alive.
I think that is all true, and I do accept that, because there are people who definitely live that way. But I also feel like putting a timeline on it is very difficult, because we don't all heal the same way. And just because I can get over something in 6 months doesn't mean someone else can. For me to feel like I was in a place where I could control my anger took me more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Because it was that difficult. My problem wasn't getting sad. I liked hanging out with people. All those 10 years I hung out, I was still having fun, doing fun things. I didn't isolate myself. That wasn't my thing. I liked hanging out. So being surrounded by people that, actually cared about me and stuff like that, that wasn't an issue. But that still didn't fix my anger issue. That was part of my depression. That was stemmed from trauma in my early childhood. So I feel like putting a timeline on it could be difficult, but I also feel like I wasn't necessarily living a victim life, like, oh, poor me, because I went through, I went through this, or I suffered this way, or these people hurt me this way. But at the same time, I didn't seek the help that could have helped me, to heal better or heal faster, So I was basically just doing it on my own with the people that were closest to me that I confided in, and they would just deal with it over the years. And finally, I also had to get to a point where, okay, I'm gonna fight this now. I'm gonna officially fight this. And, so I do feel like in that regard, it's hard to put a timeline on it. But I also feel like you, that there are situations that are more self-imposed, where, like, yes, I agree that exercising, in fact, the studies that going back to that, there have been studies where, because in depression, a lot of times where we want to isolate, and you, and you want to do less and less. People who are truly depressed and deep down in it, you will notice that they will do less and less, and they become less and less active. So to fight that, literally one of the best things you can do is being active.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to just go to parties. You can literally just wake up and make breakfast for yourself. And that can be an accomplishment. You made your bed. You took a walk, around the block. Doing stuff like that can help you. It's not going to be the end all, cure you in one session type thing. It takes effort to get to overcome depression, but you will definitely not do it by isolating, and you will definitely not do it by doing nothing. The enemy of progress is isolation. You have to be willing to approach it that way. Like, okay, I gotta, even if I have to kind of force myself, but I would be, it's so much easier to help someone by saying, hey, I'm going to do this with you. Let's do this together, bro.
That's true.
Than it is to say, hey, you need to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're right.
When I approach it that way, I'm going to feel much more encouraged, because instead of you just giving me an order, you're like, hey, bro, I'm going to do this. You want to join me? I'm much more likely to join you and do it, even if I don't necessarily want to, because, hey, my friend is asking me to just go with them. So, okay. Versus, hey, you need to do this. It's a bit harder.
Yeah.
to just take those instruction and do it on your own, because you're
That's a
still
great way to put it.
necessarily going to feel alone because you're just given an order of what you need to do, but no one grabbing that end of the rope and saying, "Come with me,
Yeah,
we're going this way."
exactly. Yeah. So
I think
those
that's friendship is important, right? I think that's where, a nice, close, tight friendship circle is very important in that aspect.
Agreed.
Right, because I think we're all meant to push each other. Right, we're all
Yeah.
meant to lift each other up. I mean, if you're feeling down, like, hey, dude, what's going on? Why are you off? Right, and being like, and you're right, and just offering yourself to do something with somebody is the big difference. Maybe that is the thing that they've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Like, I've been waiting for someone to take me to like the gym. I've been waiting for someone to ask me
a
to go
little
on
extra
a hike.
extra push get you
know
started.
what I mean? So you're right. I definitely agree on that for sure.
Yeah, and you guys mentioned a lot of the signs of a depressed person, right? Being angry, irritated, right? Is a huge sign that sometimes just gets pushed aside because you think like, oh, they're just men, right? They can get angry whenever they want, but no, it's like how you mentioned, it's rooted on other traumatic events, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then you said, I forgot what you said, but lack of interest is hugely like a huge sign,
Big indicator.
a big indicator. Not being excited about anything that happens, like
Yep.
your wife plans something, you're like, oh yeah, it's whatever, it's just another day. So for me, the best way to combat any signs or symptoms of depression is first to be grateful for what you have, but second, be goal oriented. And just like everything that you mentioned, I can ask a person, be like, oh, well, what are your goals? And if they don't know where they stand or where they're going, they're just going to be going in circles, right? So the best way to tackle that is being goal oriented, because being goal oriented, you're now telling yourself like, okay, I'm going to start taking these small steps, being more self-aware of my habits. Because if I want to achieve something in the shape that I'm in right now, if I continue with these same habits, it's not going to lead me to the end, that road, that path that I want to go to. There has to be something to change. So that's when self-awareness begins to happen, and you start having those self-inventory checks where like, okay, deficient perhaps in these areas. I need to show more gratitude in these areas, show more love to the people that have reached out to me and tell me like, hey, I'm looking out for you, dude. Like, I haven't seen you in a while, because you don't want to be isolated, like Mar said. But yes, being goal oriented is super important. And for me, I know I've feel like I've mentioned this to you guys before and other friends, but when I say that I feel like I'm an introvert, a lot of people say that I'm an what do you call extrovert. But I feel like I have to push myself to be out there and talk to more people, because if I tend to go more towards more like my introvert side, it's me isolating myself, and that's something that I don't want to do, because I went through a dark period and I told myself, okay, no, the only thing that got me out of this is building relationships with others, with people that love me, and reconciling broken relationships perhaps. So that's something I talk about with my wife all the time. Like, sometimes I do just want to be at home, just reading my book, just playing games, listening to my music, working on my own stuff. But at the same time, I have to tell myself, okay, like, all right, I got to reach out to this friend. I got to reach out to my pops. I got to reach out to mi abuelita. There's sometimes I call mi abuelita and she's like, mijo, te perdiste. It's been like a month. And I'm like, oh man, I'm so sorry, grandma. And that for me is like, okay, all right, got to start picking up the good habits again, because that is very important to me, to feel that love and support from my family, and that my family feels that same love and support from me.
So yeah, I think sticking to goals, being somewhat ambitious during those moments of times, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think you guys, how would you guys balance demands of, being a husband, a father, keeping your faith going, not just for you, but for your family, when you are impacted with like personal struggles or, some cloud of depression?
That's a good question.
So I think me personally, I'd probably, you prioritize based on, for me, it's like, I mean, God is number one, right?
Yes.
So if that's my faith, that's my belief, then I based taking care of my relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to be number one for me.
That's good.
Then after that, it's my family, but how do I take care of, one of the ways I take care of my family is I provide for them. So that means I also have to take care of my job.
Mm-hmm.
That means I have to show up early, or just show up on time at least, if early is not possible, and do well, be a good steward of my job so that I can keep food in the fridge and keep the lights on. And after that, making time, being intentional with my wife and my boys, and then also sometimes getting lost in the shuffle is time with just the family, because you're like, oh, we're so busy. We got church events, or we got family events, we got birthday parties, whatever, life. And then on top of that, you're splitting the work. And my wife has like clients, so sometimes even after she's done with work, she'll go and see a client. She'll come home late. And so there's times where we have to be intentional about making our family time, like, hey, no, this Friday, it's just the four of us. We're going to go out and we're going to make time so we can connect, do one of the things we love doing, eating and laughing and making each other laugh, having a good time. So I think that's one of the ways. It's kind of like prioritizing the things that matter most, and just go down that. For me, that seems to be good. And it's not a set in stone thing. Sometimes, like I said, you'll lose your way along the way, and then, let's readjust, let's refocus and get things right the way they should be.
For sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. That last thing that you mentioned, prioritizing is what it is. Because we're talking about being goal oriented as men. And with that comes some ambitions. And sometimes we tend to be a bit too ambitious, that we leave some things to the side, right? But when you start kind of begin to perhaps struggle a little bit, the road gets a little bit more rocky. That's when you really gotta tone it down, dial it down, and be like, okay, what are my priorities? And like Mar said, as Christian men, our faith, right, should always be rooted in our firm foundation. So I gotta make sure that, number one, prioritize my faith and what my foundation is, because that is what is going to uphold me in the times where I'm the most joyful to the times where I'm the most depressed, whether I'm in the valley or I feel like I'm worthless and I have an inner cry for help that nobody seems to understand me or hear me. But like Mar said, God is always with us. So that's the number one thing. And then also it's important to bring our wives in the mix as well. I really like just having that time to talk with my wife and regroup and assess and see where we're at. What are some things that perhaps you're struggling at this moment that you need me to show more support, in what areas you need me in, and letting her know, like, okay, I'm going through this at work. I have this big project happening. I know that you told me you needed this to happen, but I would appreciate it if we can perhaps do it this way for now, right? So that's important as well. So I think to me, and then the third one is just having a brotherhood, people to reach out to as well, and just letting them know, the stuff that you go through, they perhaps went through it as well, and they can give you a different perspective as well. But to me, those is just prioritizing that, just like Mar said. Well put.
That's cool.
What about you?
I'm going to say two things. First one is learn to say no. A lot of things I feel that the depressing and overwhelming is because we're too busy saying yes to everybody and everything. And you got to be able to just say no. Got to be able to do that. And that relates with taking time for yourself, being selfish, even from your family, from everybody. I'm not saying you got to take a vacation. I'm not saying you got to take days. It could be an hour to a week. Just to sit there and marinate, go work out, go sit in a sauna, whatever it is. Don't think of nothing. Don't do anything. Just breathe. You know, because I feel like a lot of times we're just on the go and we even forget to breathe. And,
That's
you know,
true.
I think you guys hit a lot of points, but those 2 points I really believe that are super strong that a lot of us forget to do.
Yep. That's true.
Bro,
because-
that's nailed it for
Yeah.
me. That like that whole no thing, that is so true. Because I mean, even if we're talking about, and I'm sorry to cut you off, my brother, but talking about family time, and sometimes we just overcommit to everyone. You know, how many times I know for me, I had to look through my phone and hey babe, by the way, we're going to this party on this Saturday, and we're going to, and she's like, what do you mean? We already got this and this, and I'm like, all of a sudden now I got to cancel on somebody. But sometimes it's better, do your checks and balances, number one, and number two, sometimes just say no.
Yeah.
Or else
That
see
was
what's
so
up.
good.
Or else see what's up.
There you go.
what's up.
Hit him with one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. A huge point that you made, that once I started implementing this, it made a huge impact in my life, was the whole breathing part. Just breathing. We get busy with things that we, believe it or not, we forget how to breathe. We're just, and it's like, you gotta bring your heart rate down, buddy. And that's what I practice
Sometimes that's
a lot.
just being overweight.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna check my heart right now. I'm good.
Can't even tie your shoes. You gotta come up for breath.
God forbid you have to put your sock on. God. That's hilarious.
Oh shoot.
Sad but true.
But yeah, I remember when I was dealing a lot with anxiety, I would always be looking at my heart rate, and it would be like in the hundreds, and that is not a good resting heart rate. So that's when I started telling
go higher
myself,
because you keep thinking about it. Like,
you
oh,
keep
now it's
thinking-
107, now it's
exactly,
110.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right. But then I really had to learn how to breathe again. Just take some time for myself and just breathe, man. What would, because I feel like there's another side to the coin of that, what you said, of just saying no. What about to the people that can't seem to say yes because feelings of not being worthy or capable of doing?
Well, I mean, if we're in your, I mean, when it's a good point, because when we're talking about depression, some of these people would be more inclined to say no to everything just because they don't want the interaction.
Yeah.
And so in that perspective, you know, a yes would be more beneficial for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah, man. I think you guys all hit it, you know, on the balancing of it. Because I truly feel, and I've learned this too with my own experience, is that the moment that you put God first in your life, it just trickles down on everything else.
It does.
In the way you treat your wife, in the way you treat your kids, in the way you treat your job, and the way you just treat people in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just trickles all down. And I think that's the perfect way to balance. It's just, all you need is just that one thing, that faith, you know, that faith in you, and then it'll just do the work. You know what I'm saying? It'll just, you know, you'll flourish and you'll be the person that you're meant to be.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've had the experience of not having God first in my life. And the little things would annoy me that my kids would do. You know what I mean? The little things that would annoy me that my wife would do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so the moment I started like, nah, like I can't act like this or feel this way every single time. You know what I mean? Like something needs to change. And then when I started doing that, you know, when I truly, you know, try to put my faith first before anything else, it's like, oh, like now I feel that peace in me. You know what I'm saying? To like have grace for my kids. They just want a snack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're children.
83 times a day.
Exactly.
That's fine.
But hey, when I was a kid too, I wanted snacks
For
83
sure.
times a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so little things like my wife does, that doesn't bother me anymore, like putting her clothes away.
Oh man, I gotta do that when I get home right
You
now
know?
too.
So stuff like that, it's just like, it's just, water under the bridge for me now. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. I have my family.
Mm-hmm.
I have everything I need.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everything else is just extra at this point.
Yeah.
That's
And
all I
that faith aspect is so important because you start to realize how self-centered
Yeah.
you are, right?
Mhm.
And then once you start growing in your relationship with God, you start giving him your struggles, and you start to see like, oh man, like it's not all just about me, right? And then going back to being goal oriented, then now God begins to put a purpose in your life, and boom, now you have a goal to do, and it's not just
For me.
solely dependent on you, but in the relationships around you and in your community as well.
So we all went together, boys.
We all went together, boys.
All right.
That's right.
All right. Unless we win the lottery, then one of us is going to disappear.
Nah, I'll take care of you.
I'm out. No,
I mean, I'm not saying like forever. But
a one-time payment. I'll get you dinner one time.
You choose where you want to live.
Our retirement
I'll take
plan.
care of your
That's
house.
what's up. That's all you need. That's all you need, right?
We'll just
Yeah,
buy
don't
out.
go to Dubai either.
Can I buy
bro.
out a whole? Can I buy out a whole court just so we can all live next to each other?
Nah, I ain't trying to hear you, dog.
I personally,
Hear me what?
I wouldn't mind it.
You only at your boys. I don't know.
Nah, it'd be cool hitting Mara like, hey, bro,
I ain't trying to
let's
hit
go
no
shoot some-
Naruto in the background at 11 o'clock at night. Naruto, Japanese girl screaming.
Bro, we'll be rich so we can soundproof all of our houses.
Oh, Jesus. Y'all are funny. No.
No. Oh man, that's his word of the week.
Thanks, Jay.
He already says no enough.
Right.
No, I see what's up.
Let's see what's up.
I think as we summarize here, it's a great conversation to have, obviously, around something so sensitive as depression. And we're not experts or anything. These are just conversations that I feel needs to happen in this space. But if you really are dealing with severe signs and symptoms of depression, like go out there, seek some treatment.
Yeah.
Seek some parents, people that love you, and they can get you on the path and the treatment that you need for you.
Yeah, no, we recognize that even how we things worked out for us doesn't mean it's what I did isn't gonna work for everyone. To get over my stuff, some people need to do something different. And to your point, this is why it's important to seek that professional help if you need it. And if at all possible, fight that urge to isolate, fight the urge to do nothing or to care about nothing. Even if it's one thing, two things. Be productive in a little area, like Jay said, baby steps, and surround yourself with people who love you and want the best for you.